I am so convinced that living firmly unbound will give you the life that you have always wanted that I am betting my entire life on it. And I'm actually going to go through the entire history of my entire life and how my life is the evidence that living firmly unbound will give you the life that you have always wanted. So we're going to go through that. If you're new here, Firmly Unbound is an expression of exploration and freedom in work, play, and faith. So what that means exactly, I'm going to read straight from firmlyunbound.com, the mission statement for Firmly Unbound. Firmly Unbound is an expression of exploration and freedom in work, play, and faith. In our work, it is our mission to explore new solutions, commit to taking chances over seeking comfort and familiarity, and know that the joys of life are just as much in the pursuit of success as they are in the achievements of success. In our play, it is our delight to explore new grounds, seek new experiences, and practice passing through the barriers of our comfort zones. In our faith, we walk with confidence and pride in our beliefs that we were bound to a life of sin, yet saved only through the death and resurrection of Jesus Christ that firmly unbound us from our life of sin through his sacrifice. So that there is what Firmly Unbound is in a nutshell. And to live firmly unbound is to live out all of those beliefs there and practice them in everyday life. Also, I hate how long that is there. So I will literally pay $250 to anyone who comments down below a condensed version of that that's like 1 or 2 sentences that doesn't lose a lot of the depth that's there, because I'm having a hard time trying to condense that down and make it more easy to digest and share with other people. So if you comment something down below that I actually will want to use as a more condensed version of that mission statement, I will send you $250. Now, like I said, I'm going to go through my entire life essentially and show how living firmly unbound is what I have been living in my adult life. Now, I haven't always been living firmly unbound, but I am striving every day to live a more firmly unbound life. And the last 10 years of my life specifically, or maybe like 7 or 8, I have really been trying to embody this as much as I can in my life. Is the fruits that you can see, that you can judge for yourself on if the principles of living firmly unbound actually work in giving you the results that you may want in life. So, gonna start with literally the very beginning. When I was 2 years old, my parents divorced and split up, and my entire childhood, I lived with a split family. So I had my dad and stepmom, both parents remarried by the time I was 5, and then I had my mom and my stepdad, and I literally bounced back and forth from house to house. It was like Monday, Wednesday at my dad's, Tuesday, Thursday at my mom's, and then every other weekend it would switch. So already from like my youth, I didn't really have a conventional home situation, which is fine. I still give a ton of credit and respect to my parents because they maintained a working relationship with one another where I never felt like I was at odds with either side of my family, and they were both open to communication with each other, and they really made things as easy as possible for me in those circumstances. But that was my childhood growing up. Obviously, faith is a huge component of living firmly unbound. I came to know Christ early on in my life thanks to my parents. I actually just recently gave a ton of credit to my dad for being a phenomenal father. And if there's any privilege that I have been granted in life, it is certainly the privilege that my dad came to know Jesus Christ before I did and raised me in a way to make sure that I grew up to know and find Jesus as well. And that is the most, it literally could bring me to tears to just see the world that we're in today and know that I could have had a father that did not do that for me. And credit to my whole family for doing that. But man, my dad is just such a, he is just such a great man to me. And I'm so, so grateful that he raised me in a way that wasn't like this gentle parenting that we see going on in today's world and all these other things. He really raised me to become a man. And it took me a long time to get to that point, and I wish I would have honored his life a little bit better in my upbringing. And we're going to get into all that, but the just respect and admiration I have for him to make sure that I came to know Jesus is just, I mean, it's the most important thing in my life. And we're going to get into why all that is. But anyways, so I came to know Jesus, and I started living this firmly unbound life when I was in like middle school because I was very unashamed of my faith. I led a prayer group in my school when I was in 6th grade. Kids used to make fun of me for it. Kids used to mock me all the time for my shirts that I would wear that had stuff that talked about Jesus on it, and I just didn't care. It just kind of brushed right off my shoulder, and I would invite them to youth group with me. And that was just such a beautiful time in my life that I always reflect on, and I'm like, man, I want to be more like that kid that was just fearless, because so much of living firmly unbound is being fearless like that. But then life kind of took its course. I got more involved in sports. I played basketball and football all the way up through high school, and then could have gone either way in college, and most likely at like a D2 level for most sports. Although I think, knowing what I did in college, I wish I would have pursued the football route, because I was a much better football player than basketball. But I was so skinny, I didn't know that I could gain like 25 pounds, which is what I did in college. And I would have been a much better football player. Nonetheless, played sports, learned a whole ton of discipline through sports that is essential to living firmly unbound. So if you don't have a foundation that has helped you develop discipline, you have to seek out learning how to embrace discipline like it's one of the most important things in your life. That is such a key element to living firmly unbound. So I'm so grateful that I was raised playing sports, because I learned discipline through that. There's so many different ways that you can learn discipline, but sports was definitely one of them, because you have to just continue to show up and go to practice when you don't want to. You have to show up the next day after a bad game, and so many other different lessons that I learned through playing sports. But anyways, as we keep going, I really don't want this to be too long, so I'm going to try to get through this quickly. But got into college, playing basketball in college, and then I kind of skipped over something. But one of the most important things, if you want to see a deeper dive into this, I made a whole video about my testimony that I think the title of that video was like My Secret Life of, what was it called? Oh gosh, now I'm going to have to look it up. My Secret Life of Destruction. When I was about 10 or 11 years old, I got exposed to pornography, and that changed my life drastically. That was the strongest addiction that I have ever experienced in my life, which is crazy to me because I don't really have an addictive personality. I have tried things in my life like alcohol, marijuana, nicotine, and none of those things really have taken a grip on me where I felt some sense of addiction to them. But pornography is the most deadly thing that I have ever encountered in my life. And I will always be a strong advocate for how deadly pornography is. Now, how it impacted my life, and granted, I know that not everybody goes down this path through discovering pornography, but also keep in mind, I know the depths of secrecy that people can live in because I lived it. And I know that not everybody's being honest with how damaging and harmful their addiction to pornography is. I'm going to share it with you because I believe that shedding light onto sin, in fact, my life is an example of this, light being shown or shined, what's the right way to say this? Light shining on sin will cast it out. And when I was around 20 years old, 19 going on 20 years old, I made the worst mistake of my entire life because I had come across videos on the internet of people attempting to record girls changing in dressing rooms. So when I had the opportunity to try that myself, just being in a dressing room and realizing that there was a woman next to me, I attempted to do it myself because I had already seen it done by somebody else, and now my curiosity was piqued and I tried it. Other worst thing that happened to me was I got away with it. And so I went back and I did it again, and then I did it again, and then I got caught. And thank goodness I got caught, because I legitimately don't think I would be here today if I didn't get caught. I don't know where that path might have taken me if I didn't get caught. I literally thank God. Like, I'm so remorseful. I've had so much shame and guilt that I've lived with because of that decision. I'm so unbelievably sorry to the women that I hurt through doing that. But the blessings that God has given me as I have learned to understand the grace of Jesus is an unfathomable hope that I do not deserve, that I somehow get to live with, that I want everybody to experience. So I want to paint this picture with you to show you the things that I have gone through and how bad my life was. after this happened, not only did I get caught for this and now I'm going through the court system, I have to do 2 years of probation, I have to register as a sex offender for those 2 years, and not only that, I'm on a sex offense probation, which I don't know if you understand how intense that is. I can't go anywhere without my probation officer knowing. I can't be around any children or any minors under the age of 17, which includes my own family. I had to convince the courts to let me live in my own house because I had a brother who was 8 years younger than me, and thank goodness I was able to do that. But I couldn't see my little sister for almost a year as I was going through this. I couldn't even talk to family about her because we had to take polygraph tests about every 6 weeks, and they would ask us if we've had any encounters with minors and different things like that. So it was the most rigid probation that you can possibly be on. And on top of that, the local town that I lived in, or the state that I lived in, did a news story on me. And it was a great headline for them because at the time I was doing music, I was starting to do some modeling stuff, and I also was a proclaimed Christian. So perfect story for them. And to be honest with you, as I just reflect on this, it's amazing to me. I don't deserve anything. I don't deserve anything good to go my way in life at all. Like after that, I really felt like I did not deserve anything to go good in life. But that was the start of where I really began this journey of living firmly unbound, because I had no choice but to sit there in my room by myself day after day after day and think, what am I going to do now? What do I do now? And I was on the verge of killing myself. I mean, I am talking like legitimately killing myself, not like the type of person that just says that because they want attention. Like, I was ready to end it because I did not feel that there was anything else worth living for. And the only thing that stopped me is the thought of the pain that my mom would have if she found my dead body on the floor. That was it. And it took me a long time after that moment to kind of turn my life around. In fact, it was a long journey from that moment to really come to understanding who I am. But for some reason, in those times, I had this strong conviction to not to give up and to not lose hope, because God did not give me something that I cannot handle and that cannot be used for good, despite how bad it was. And I think my life since that day has been a story of that. So from that moment on, I did so many different things. I moved to Dallas. That was a big change for me, and didn't know anybody here except for the girl that I was dating at the time that I had met at a work conference here in Dallas. This is years after I had finished probation, no longer have to register as a sex offender, and got that. Thank goodness. I mean, just praise God. I was able to get that removed off my record because I got a deferred judgment sentence and had to complete that 2 years of probation and therapy. I had to go to therapy 6 times a month for 2 years. And saw a lot of growth and development in those times. Then I moved to Dallas. I worked a few jobs prior to that. I worked at a pizza restaurant. I did door-to-door sales, doing bathroom and window remodels. A lot of just sucky jobs. I worked at Safeway, which is like, Tom Thumb, if for other people that don't live in, the areas of the country that have Safeway stores, but it's just a grocery store. I did like food prep essentially. Whatever jobs I could get. I had to drop out of school. I had to quit the job I was currently at when all this stuff happened in my life and just basically restart. Lost virtually every friend that I had. Thank goodness. And I'm so grateful for my family that they never abandoned me in this moment, but they surely could have, and I wouldn't have blamed them for it if they did. And I had one friend, Jacob, or JT, I don't want to put anybody's full information out there, but JT was another friend that reached out to me, and then friends I met along the way as well that also didn't abandon me, and I'm so grateful for those people. But I had every reason to just give up on life, and I just chose to stay persistent and keep going. I took out a lot of the pain that I was feeling in music I was making. That was an outlet for me. And then I completely pretty much abandoned my relationship with God. I felt like through my high school into college years, I was living like this self-righteous life where I was trying to perceive myself to be this perfect person. I didn't drink, I didn't do drugs, I didn't even really go hang out at parties. I used to get in fights and arguments with the girl I was dating at the time because she wanted to go out and hang out with friends at parties, and I just did not like that at all. And behind the scenes, I was living like the most egregious life that was just kept in secret that I could hide from everybody. So fast forward, then I moved to Dallas, and then I got this job selling RVs. And so before I get into that, let's talk about this element right here, because over the last year especially, I've really come to know Jesus, and I have an unshakable hope now that nobody can touch. The reason I am not afraid to talk about this now is because you watching and anybody watching has no power over me. There is nothing you can take from me, not even my life, that matters more to me than my relationship with Jesus Christ and the hope that I find in that. You could literally take my life and I will go out with a smile because I know where I'm going. And that is a hope that I hope everybody finds. And I know that every last breath that I take on this earth, I am firmly unbound from my life of sin because I have truly come to seek Jesus and I have found Jesus and I know what the love of Jesus means and I have tangibly felt it in my life over and over and over again now, to the point where you literally could take everything from me and I promise you I will take every bit of it with a smile because I know where my hope is found. I know where my hope lies, and I know through my faith in Jesus, I have transformed from the inside out, and my life is a reflection of that now, where I'm not perfect. I will never be perfect, but man, Jesus has legitimately changed me. He has legitimately changed me, and this mostly has happened in like the last year. And that is a hope and a transformation that I want other people to find. I'd like desperately want people in this world that is so sucked of hope. It's so sucked of joy. I mean, this world just has stripped those things from so many people. And I'm sitting here like almost feeling, I almost feel bad that other people don't get to experience the hope and joy that I experience every day, that I don't deserve to feel. Like there's people that deserve to feel a whole lot more hope and joy than I have, or that I deserve, that aren't. And it's simply because they haven't come to know Jesus yet. So that is like my biggest cry, is for you to seek living this firmly unbound life where you understand that you are firmly unbound from your life of sin and you can live life in such a deep amount of grace and hope and optimism through what Jesus did on the cross for you and your sin, and every mental battle you have ever gone through, every bad decision you have ever made, they are all forgiven. And when you truly come to understand that at a deep level in your soul and you truly connect with Jesus, the transformation that will do to your spirit is something that I want every single person to experience. It will legitimately change your life.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see.
Now, with that, there's other elements to living firmly unbound as well. That faith aspect is like the biggest portion, because having that faith foundation is what allowed me to, despite all of my baggage, walk with confidence in other areas of my life where I didn't really deserve to walk with confidence, but I know who I am in Jesus and I find my confidence in that now. So I'm going to walk with pride and confidence, knowing that I am redeemed and I have found true salvation despite the fact that I do not deserve it. So get into selling RVs. Now, this is where we're going to get into the work portion of it, where up to this point in my life, I'm about 24 years old. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to make it in life. I'm still doing music at this time. I'm thinking like, you know, maybe I'll make it as like somebody who is producing music for other people or audio engineering for other people. But then I start selling RVs, and I came into the RV industry. I have Puerto Rican heritage in me, Puerto Rican and Spanish heritage in me from my mom. I had dreadlocks at the time, so my hair was locked up, and I know because my manager told me, and I legitimately, and like VPs of the company I worked at told me that I was not going to succeed if I didn't cut my hair. They still hired me, but they told me if I don't cut my hair, I will succeed. So there's a couple different lessons in here in living firmly unbound. One, I was already doing things prior to this to build up my abilities to be able to be successful in life, which is something you have to do. You have to be disciplined if you're going to live firmly unbound. I did door-to-door sales. Miserable. I mean, freaking miserable. But man, it taught me how to talk to people that I didn't even want to talk to and try to sell them something. I also did, there was one other, oh yeah, and then I did windshield repairs. We were literally sitting out at gas stations talking to random strangers, asking them if we can fix the chips and cracks in their windshield or replace their windshields for them. Two jobs that taught me like the most valuable career skills I probably have ever acquired, with being able to do that, which allowed me to then take my abilities to know how to sell myself, essentially, go in and get a job at an RV dealership, even though I don't look the part. And not only that, within a year's time, when everybody told me I would not succeed if I didn't cut my hair, I became the top salesperson at the store that I was at within a year's time. And not only that, I also started my YouTube channel, which started growing while I had that hair. Now, I eventually did cut it off just because I had the locks for 5 years and I did all of the maintenance on them myself, which was a ton of work. So I finally let them go. But I kept them to specifically prove a point that they're not going to hinder my success. And that's another lesson in this world that we're in right now. People make excuses left and right for why they cannot succeed. And they are all a bunch of BS. They really are. There is nobody that is going to stop you from succeeding except for yourself. That is the only person in the way of your success, is yourself and your mind. And living firmly unbound starts in the mind. It is a mindset to live firmly unbound. Before anything else, you have to condition your mind that you are going to live firmly unbound. And even in the words firmly unbound, I think you can pick up on the messaging. It's that nothing's going to stop me. Nothing will stop me because I am firmly unbound. I'm already starting to post other videos on my Firmly Unbound channel here, and I'm getting comments of people making excuses as for why my message of living firmly unbound doesn't necessarily resonate with them. And they're excuses. I don't care what you say, they are excuses and they are BS. You need to get excuses out of your head. There is no reason. If you live in the United States, you have the best opportunity to succeed out of anybody on earth. So stop with the excuses. You are not living firmly unbound if you are making excuses, especially in 2024 going into 2025. If you don't know how to do something, go to ChatGPT and ask ChatGPT how to do it. All the answers for anything that you could ever need are so easily accessible, but you have to condition your mind to believe that to live firmly unbound and then act it out. So stripped away any excuses that I could possibly have to not succeed, became the top salesperson at the store that I was at, started building this YouTube channel, and went from being the top salesperson to one of the top salespeople in the country. I was the #1 selling fifth wheel Montana, or Keystone Montana fifth wheel salesperson. I didn't really word that properly, but I was the #1 selling fifth wheel. Wow, why can I not say this properly? I was the #1 Keystone, Montana fifth wheel RV salesperson in the country the last full calendar year that I sold RVs. And that was off the back of building the YouTube channel, Myles RVs, that became very successful. And now across all social media platforms, those videos reach over 10 million people a year. Again, no excuses. I worked with a ton of people that could have done exactly what I did, but the reason they didn't is because they would rather sit and play games on their computer than go out and film an RV. I literally saw it every single day for like 3 or 4 years straight, however long I was there. So you have to, in whatever sector you are trying to succeed in financially, you have to do more than what is being asked of you. If you want to succeed, I don't care what the world tells you. If you truly want to live firmly unbound and have the fruits of success that come with living firmly unbound, you have to do more than what is being asked of you. That is the only way that you will ever make more, is by doing more. There is no other option than that. You have to do it. And if you aren't willing to do it, you aren't willing to live firmly unbound, and you might as well unsubscribe from this channel and never watch another video, because that is just the truth. If you want to live firmly unbound though, I encourage you to find a way to be better than the other people around you in whatever ways that you possibly can find. I can't tell you what to do specifically for your particular circumstances, because not everybody can just go and build a YouTube channel, but you know your skills and abilities. And if you don't, you need to really do some reflection on how you can utilize what you have available to you to outperform the other people around you. You don't have a choice if you want to live firmly unbound. You have to do those things. Now, part of the big motivation for me as well with putting in this extra work, and I'm so grateful I worked in an industry that forced me to realize this, selling RVs, working Saturdays was non-negotiable. If you want to make money and if you want to be here as a salesperson, you must work Saturdays. Now, I have always been a very forward-thinking person, so I was thinking ahead to my future family, my future kids. I played sports growing up. I hope my kids play sports growing up, but even if they don't, that's all right too. All I know is if they have activities on Saturday, I will be at those activities. Non-negotiable. I will not miss those. And I don't care what it is, I need to do whatever I possibly can to make sure I get myself in that position. I started to see success in the RV world and I wanted to stay in that industry, but I knew that if I get to the point where I have to choose my job over my kids, I have no option but to quit. So my other choice was, hey, maybe I figure out a way to utilize my strengths in this industry to create a position for myself where I can get some freedom back and I can get some of my time back. And that's exactly what I did with the YouTube channel. That was the vision from like very early on. I mean, within the first year of doing that, and it's now been like 5 or 6 years that I've been building that YouTube channel. That was the very first thing that drove me to work as hard as I did at it, to go out and film RVs in literal 90 to 110 degree heat in Texas in the summer with no air conditioning on, because I don't have time to wait for someone to get the RV hooked up for me and plug the AC in or do it myself. I literally just need to get this done so I can go help the customers I'm trying to sell RVs to. Literally dripping sweat, doesn't matter. I'm gonna get the job done because I want freedom in my life. I want to live firmly unbound. I am going to live firmly unbound and no one's going to stop me. That is how like tenacious you have to be with your mentality if you really want to live firmly unbound. Nobody was going to stop me from creating the life that I wanted. I've now found the avenue. It took me a long time. I tried so many different things. I had dang near a dozen different jobs before I got into this RV industry and tried various different businesses that failed. Shoot, I even did Amway. And saw that as a potential opportunity, but then didn't really, stick and see that through. The windshield repair business that I was doing, there was like a path to ownership in that, and I didn't see that through. And there were so many different things where I just didn't feel like it was the right opportunity for me. Then finally found the vehicle. Now it's like, okay, let's put the pedal to the floor and maximize this opportunity that I have, which is exactly what I did. And keep in mind, go back to 5 years ago, or however long it was at this point, 5, 6 years ago, I don't deserve to be here. It is literally only the grace of Jesus and being firmly unbound from my life of sin that I'm even able to walk with this confidence to feel that I have the ability to do this. It is not my own doing. It was literally having faith in Jesus that I am not who I once was, and I am better than who I once was, and I still am worthy of something good in my life. And again, all of these are elements of living firmly unbound. So that was how I got to the point where I am now, where I have pretty much complete freedom over my life. And gosh, I just want people to experience this so bad. And freedom for you can look different than what freedom for me looks like. But now I have 2 different businesses, my Myles RVs and here this Firmly Unbound channel. And I pretty much get to control my life at this point. I mean, I have obligations that I have to stick to, but I dictate every move that I make in my life now. And it is so just liberating to be able to live in that way. And that is what I hope everybody comes to find. But I know not everybody will, because not everybody is willing to live firmly unbound. One, not everybody is willing to surrender their life to Christ and get to walk in this newfound hope and revival that I've experienced. I pray and I hope that you get to experience that. But I know not everybody is going to be willing to do that. And that there alone is going to prevent people from ever getting to walk in the confidence and pride that they need to actually really succeed in life. Two, most people are just not going to be willing to put in the work that it takes to really create that for themselves. It takes a lot of failure to get there. I have failed time and time and time again. I slept on a couch in my parents', in the upstairs bedroom in my parents' apartment. It was like a 3-story apartment. It was the smallest bedroom in the apartment. And I literally didn't even have enough room in a bed in there because of all my recording studio equipment as I was trying to build up my music business that I was doing, that I slept on a couch for like 2 years. And I was willing to do that. Same thing when I moved to Dallas. I literally had my bed in my living room because my bedroom had to be used for my recording studio. And I was just willing to do whatever it took to try to find success. So there's all that. Then we get to the play side. Now, I want people to get to this point in life where you just get to experience and enjoy life. I literally almost feel guilty sometimes because I'm going on my 30th birthday and I get to basically do whatever I want with my life at this point. Not necessarily whatever, because I still have work goals that require discipline for me to get there. But if I just posted a video of the hunting trip I went on with my family. I have missed those hunting trips for almost the past decade because I have been so busy working, trying to get my freedom back. And going on that hunting trip was so freaking cool to me because it was like a moment of like, oh my gosh, I did it. Like I didn't have to ask anybody if I can go on this hunting trip because I don't have anybody to ask anymore. I don't have to ask permission to go hunting. And that was like, oh, it's just so freeing to know that. And I want people to experience that. Like we deserve to go out and enjoy new experiences and make memories with friends and family and memories even just with ourselves. And so many people never get to the point where they get to truly do that to the extent that they would want to because you haven't been willing to put in the discipline to get to that point. And that's the only way to ever get there. I mean, and don't hear what I'm saying is like you have to, become an entrepreneur and start your own business. There's so many different ways to find great levels of success in so many different industries at so many different levels where you can find the flexibility and freedom that matches your lifestyle. But what really hurts my soul is the amount of people I've seen that are just miserable where they're at, but they aren't willing to change it because they aren't willing to live firmly unbound. So that is what I have done with my life. I am deserving of nothing, literally all glory to God for the person I have become today. But I have been living very firmly unbound. Oh, another thing I didn't even mention too, I got married and then went through a divorce within a year. Freaking brutal. I mean, that just sucked. And I don't want to speak too much about the situation, but man, it cost me a ton of money to go through that situation. A ton of money. And thank goodness by the grace of God, I was able to create something where that didn't just ruin me for life. Because if a situation like that would have happened in years prior, I mean, I don't even know. And that is, the mistake I made where I decided to invade on another person's privacy was the worst regret that I ever have. And the second biggest regret that I have in my life is deciding to marry somebody that wasn't really right for me and that I wasn't really, probably meant to marry, and just made a rushed bad decision. And I mean, she was a beautiful person and a great person, and we just didn't mesh well. And I had to live through that too over the last year. And still, that is, and if anything good came from that is what pushed me closer to Jesus than ever before. Because I could not understand why my life had to go down that path. I had said my entire life that I would never get divorced. And after living all that I've lived and then going through a divorce, how am I supposed to have any hope that something good is going to come out of my life as somebody that desires to have a wife and a family someday? Like, there was literally no hope left for me. I have this history of these things in my past that I can't keep a secret from somebody that I'm willing to date. And I've now been through a divorce. How am I supposed to have any hope? It's in Jesus. My hope was found completely and entirely through Jesus. And he has been just so faithful to me as I have put my full hope in him. And I want the same thing for you. I hope as I've laid out this story, you can now see the fruits of my life and what have come from making these decisions to live firmly unbound. I've reached such a level of success financially that it makes me sick sometimes, just like what my ability to earn is at this point, because I don't feel like I deserve it. I don't feel like I deserve it at all. But I also know that it all started with this hope and this revival of my soul that I found through giving my life to Jesus Christ, which I found through really, truly seeking him out, like very intently, as hard as I can. And that is when I really found Jesus. And then that is when my whole life since then, because this is a little bit more recent. I mean, this is like post my divorce and then between that time leading up to now. So within a year span, I mean, I have had a complete transformation of my spirit where I am like, I'm just overwhelmed with the things in life that have gone favorable for me because I have lived out these principles of living firmly unbound. So not only that, not only is the financial success there, not only do I now have freedom to basically do whatever I want with my life. I mean, if I wanted to travel to Europe tomorrow, I could do it. I don't do it because I have other goals that I'm working on that are more important to me, but I could do it. If I wanted to go on an Alaskan cruise next year, I could do it. And it's crazy to me that that's not even the most important thing. The money is not the most important thing. Having my own businesses is not the most important thing. The most important thing is you could strip all of those things away from me, but you can't take my hope. You can't take my faith in Jesus Christ. You can take everything from me. You can throw me in jail, whatever. But I will not be shaken because I know who I am in Jesus Christ. I know who Jesus Christ is. And I know what Jesus Christ did for me in my life. And I cannot be shaken at this point. You can't take anything from me that would strip me of my hope and belief in God, in Jesus. And like I said in the beginning, you could take my life and I will go out with a smile because I know where I'm going. And nothing in life is more valuable than that. Nothing else in life allows me to live more firmly unbound than that. And the fruits of my life are what you get when you live firmly unbound. Now, I'm not promising that you're going to find all this financial success and freedom and things like that overnight. But I promise you, if you live out these principles of living firmly unbound, your life will be better. Internally, externally, it will be better. It won't be easy. It's hard to live firmly unbound. I had to make a ton of sacrifices that other people weren't willing to make. And in the midst of making those sacrifices, everybody else's life looked like it was better than mine because I was having to do more and suffer more as I was living through those sacrifices. So don't think that your life is just going to get easier, but it will get better. Better. Not easier, better. And I can so confidently say if you are striving to live the principles of living firmly unbound, your life will get better. My life is the examples of that. And that's what you can take to the bank to know that when I talk about living firmly unbound, that I am an example of what can come from adapting these principles into your life of living firmly unbound. My life is an example of that, of living out these principles of living firmly unbound. So I want to encourage you to do the same. If you haven't put your hope and faith in Jesus Christ, if you haven't discovered Jesus, I don't want this to feel like church or anything like that, but I really encourage you to seek him out and to find out who Jesus is. And if you need a place to start, the place where I started and really started to understand Jesus was watching The Chosen, because I think one of the problems is people view reading the Bible as, and this was my problem at least, reading the Bible as like almost like a myth or like a fairy tale. And I couldn't see this as like actual documented history. But when I watched The Chosen, which is a TV show that you can find on like Prime, or it might even be on Netflix, I'm not sure, but it shows how these were actually real human beings that walked the earth. Like Jesus Christ was a real human that walked the earth. So you already have to address the question of, okay, who was Jesus? Who was this Jesus guy? Was he really who he says he was? Because he claimed to be the Son of God. So who was he really? And The Chosen really brings the Gospels of the Bible to life and helped me see this as a historical moment in history that I now have to figure out, like, okay, what do I believe about this history? And stop viewing it as just some fairy tale. So I would encourage you to start there. But this ran even longer than I wanted to. I don't even think I, said things as concisely as I may have wanted to, but I'm just hoping and praying that God gave me the right words to speak, that they will reach one person out there that will choose to take a step to live more firmly unbound in their life and start to see the fruits that come from living more firmly unbound. So I appreciate you watching. I seriously just truly love and care about every one of you that are watching so deeply. I want the absolute best for you in life. I wouldn't be talking about these things if it wasn't for that. And so I am just encouraging you to take these steps to live a more firmly unbound life, starting with discovering Jesus and then implementing discipline into your life and seeing the results that will come from that. So that's all I got for y'all. If you identify with this idea of living firmly unbound, I do have Firmly Unbound t-shirts on firmlyunbound.com. I'm about to put them on sale, so go check that out. And then I'm going to be ordering more long sleeve shirts and probably hoodies here real soon. I'm working on that behind the scenes to try to get that before the holidays, if that's something that you would want, or at least before the new year, so that people can have some winter clothes if you identify with this and want to, wear this on your chest. It's not about the money for me. It's that I want you to walk in confidence knowing that you're living firmly unbound. So that's all I got for y'all. Until next time, live firmly unbound.